YouTube. All right, what's happening? So, today we're gonna talk about this Derick Chauvin verdict, and just what are some thoughts and reflections that I have, and impressions that I have from the events that circled this week. If you guys don't know, I live and am from Minneapolis. I grew up about 3 blocks from where George Floyd was killed. So there's a lot of thoughts and feelings I have around this whole situation. But let's get into the actual verdict. So first thing I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna pull up. So here, I'm gonna pull up the Derick Chauvin. We can just Google Chauvin. We can just do that. And I'm just gonna pull up this here. We just go to this one, CNBC. We'll skip this ad. Freaking ads.
Members of the jury.
All right. So let's see here if we can. Here we go, right here. Okay, so this is where he reads the verdict. He acknowledges that this is a guilty verdict. So we're gonna see from here, and then I just have some thoughts and reflections on this.
We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021.
All right, I want you guys to notice something. Look at his eyes, right? You can't see his face. You can't see his facial expression, but you can see his eyes. You could definitely see that his eyebrows are scrunched up, and he has dark circles under his eyes, like super, super dark circles. To me, it's clear that he hasn't really slept, that he's very distressed. And he could have been losing hair already, but I would imagine that he probably lost some hair in the process. But let's keep going.
On at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror 4-person, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder.
So I think as his eyes are scanning left and right, I feel like his brain is trying to figure out what to do next, or maybe reflect on what went wrong. Like, what went wrong here? What do I do? But yeah.
Perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury 4-person, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury 4-person 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 19, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 27, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 44, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 79, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 81, are these your true and
Because we're just gonna go to the part
and I
where
will join you in. All rise for the jury.
So it looks like here he's still showing respect for the system, right? It looks like he still has high respect for the justice system. So you see that he's not disputing, he's not resisting in any way. He is complying in every single way, and he's even standing. So I mean, yeah, it's clear to me that he believes in this system that is right now is convicting him at the moment. So yeah. So
With the guilty verdicts returned, we're going to have Blakely, you may file a written argument as to Blakely factors within 1 week. The court will issue findings on the Blakely factors, the factual findings, 1 week after that. We'll order a PSI immediately returnable in 4 weeks. And we will also have a briefing on, after you get the PSI, 6 weeks from now, and then 8 weeks from now, we will have sentencing. We'll get you the exact dates.
all right, so 8 weeks, we got sentencing in 8 weeks. So, and in that meantime, it looks like
in a scheduling order. Is there a motion on behalf of the state?
They would move to have the court revoke the defendant's bail and remand him into custody pending sentencing.
Bail is revoked, bond is discharged, and the defendant is remanded to the custody of the Hennepin County Sheriff. Anything further?
All right. Thank you.
okay. So interesting way they purposely decided to omit the imagery of him leaving in cuffs. Here, no, there. Yeah. So I see. It's funny. I see a lot of the comments and questions or text messages from people talking all over the place that their people are saying justice is served. But like, I don't know, man. Like I was watching this whole thing and I'm feeling like, is this really like God's justice? Is this the kind of justice that God would want? Because in reality, one, you still have a dead George Floyd. And two, the sad part is like Chauvin might go to jail or, he will go to jail. Looks like that's the inevitable at this point. But like, I honestly don't believe that, he's going to last very long. It's sad to say, but I think that he's had enough negative encounters and bad encounters with people who are in jail currently that he's probably made a few enemies while he's been in there, and I can't anticipate that it would go well for him. So, and honestly, like as I was looking at this whole thing, like as a black man, like you'd think that I would be happy, but I really don't. Like I just feel sad. I just feel sad about the whole situation. I feel sad about the fact that people are saying justice is served when reality is like, if I were a problematic, unfair system that needs reform, such as the justice system, and I was looking at this situation, right? Again, I live here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They've been preparing. They have military here. There's Humvees everywhere. There's guys with AR assault rifles standing on the street corners. Like they're just ready. And it sounds like obviously they're trying to avoid the worst, but in this process, I'm thinking like, if I were the system, right, what would I want out of this? And the reality is like I think that Derick Chauvin would end up being a scapegoat. Like I think that systematically, like people who are in charge of how things are reformed and how things are changed in policy, people are in charge of that probably don't want to change anything. And so the only way to do that is to keep people appeased, to keep riots from happening and keep all that stuff like that. And so to do that, you put Derick Chauvin, you make sure Derick Chauvin's convicted, because if he is, then people are just happy enough to where they feel like justice is served. When reality is, we'll probably see more situations like this in the future, which is sad to say. And I see a lot of like news reports saying like this is just step one. We need we need reform across the board, and I agree with that. But the reality is like, why would you feel like you have to when you feel like you gave the people what they wanted, quote unquote? And the reality is like you don't have to. Like you don't have to make any serious dramatic changes to your system if people aren't visibly upset about it. And so I think what's going to really happen is Derick Chauvin's going to go into jail. People are going to forget about this whole situation. And it's going to, you know, people are gonna move on and things are gonna go back to normal, and that's the thing I'm like afraid of. But beyond that too, like I think about it just from like a believer standpoint, like I think in God's justice, the way God designed justice was that it would value life over everything, right? That in God's justice, that life matters, and so in this case, George Floyd's life like didn't really matter, and in this case too, I feel sad because like Derek Chauvin's life doesn't really matter, especially to the system, because they're like, well, you know, obviously what he did was wrong. Like it's clearly and he needs to do time for that. Like obviously, but like I think if I were the system, right, like I know that if people continue to protest and riot, then that's a problem for me. So to keep that from happening, I make sure that Derek Chauvin goes to jail, which ultimately would mean that like on the back end, not much is probably going to change, which I don't think is okay. But yeah, I think just like God's justice would say that like human life is what matters. And I feel it's sad because like George Floyd was a human life. And when will we get to the point where we realize he mattered? And Derek Chauvin is a human life. And I'm very sad to say that like I see people just like really glad to see that his life is going to be destroyed. And like honestly, that shouldn't make anybody happy. It shouldn't make anybody happy that either George Floyd or Derek Chauvin's lives would be destroyed in this matter. And that's the justice of God. And that's one thing that I want people to remember when they're talking about these situations, is that like George Floyd was an image bearer. He bore the image of God. God created him in his image, as well as Derek Chauvin, and they both matter. And yes, we do have to have justice, but just like Cain killing Abel, like there was just nothing good that came from that, right? And in no way should I feel happy about the outcome of this event. I just don't. I don't feel happy. I just feel sad. I wish it had never happened. I wish it wouldn't happen, continue to happen in the future. I just wish it wouldn't. And I wish we had a different kind of justice. So, and I hope that we somehow, some way, like a reform for our justice system can happen, because I've seen way too many stories and had way too many of my own personal experiences where I know that it just can be unfair for people who look like me and who are black and brown. I just know that it can be unfair. And for those of you who think that it is fair, I would ask you to just sit down and have conversations with people who look like me and see what their experiences are. Just listen to their experiences are. Whether you choose to believe them is your choice. But I think it's worth a listen, because a lot of people who have my skin color, who look like me, have had very unfair experiences with the U.S. justice system. And so I think those things are worthy of being changed. And we know that it's not perfect. We know that. But at the same time, you can't accept that. We can never accept that the justice system is not perfect, because we're playing with people's lives. And the value of life should come above all things. And so if we're not valuing life, then we're just doing it wrong. So yeah, those are just some thoughts that I had about this whole thing. Again, it doesn't really make me happy. There's a lot to process here. Yeah, if y'all have questions, hit me up in the comment section. If you guys want to see more of my content, please subscribe. Thank you for just joining the discussion. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.